The mommies are back. My mommy and yours, Meredith Lynch, back on the West Coast. We missed you, pal.
Oh my gosh, it's so good to be back. I was so happy coming in here today. It's a beautiful day in Los Angeles. I was driving with the windows down, listening to one of my favorite songs, Hadaway, What is Love?
Oh.
Yeah, what is love? Baby, don't hurt me. That's actually
Night at the Roxbury.
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, we're happy to have you back.
Thanks. It's good to be back. I missed you guys. There's so much going on.
There's so much
and we
going
missed
on.
our studio. I love being in studio.
I know. Our girl Gabby in the booth.
Drop a W in the chat if you love seeing us in the studio.
Yeah, drop a W. Okay, we're back. We're going to talk about the headlines today. Kash Patel is pulling a Trump move. He's suing The Atlantic over a report that he has a serious alcohol problem, like serious. And we're going to talk about that as well as some more Trump cabinet members dipping out. Then we're going to talk about Katy Perry. Katy Perry has some new sexual assault allegations against her. And I'm curious, like, you know, given all the swalwell of it all, I want to talk about what happens when women have sexual assault allegations against them.
Yeah.
And then this is like a Meredith coded episode. We're going to talk Trump versus the Pope with Colleen Dulle, who's a Vatican correspondent, and she's going to shed light on like whether there's a MAGA rift over this, over like Trump picked a fight with the Pope.
And then when Trump, when Pope Leo the other day said on the plane, like, I'm not sure he fully understands the gospel. I was like, oh my God, those are fighting words.
Them's fighting words. And JD Vance has transitioned. That's not the right word.
You could say transition.
He's transitioned. He converted to Catholicism and is about to write a book about it.
That's one transition I don't want to recognize. My culture is not your costume.
Well, apparently it is, and he's writing a book about it. But I'm curious what she thinks about what, you know, like that's a pretty bad look to be like, I converted to this religion. And my boss has a feud with the disciple of that religion. Disciple, is that the right word?
No, well, I mean, we can all be disciples, to be honest. You know, followers of the word. You don't have maybe not you.
Although I have told you I did try to go to Catholic school in high school, and my dad was like over my dead body.
We would have had a blast with her, you guys. We wouldn't have converted her, but we would have had a blast.
Oh, well, I would have loved it.
You know who is not having a blast right now?
Pray tell.
Kash Patel.
I
was
just gonna do it.
He's like, I totally forgot it was picture day.
What do you think? Yeah, like he's like,
this is like
I peed a little.
My mom would get this one back and be like, what day are retakes? You got to retake that.
Kash Patel is so, I mean, bring us up to speed about this story, but like also nothing surprises me less than this story.
Yeah. So Friday, there was a story that was published in The Atlantic, and the headline was "The FBI Director is MIA." And it cited more than 24 anonymous sources who basically say like, Patel is drinking excessively. He's absent all the time. He's paranoid. He's making very bizarre and erratic decisions. And I have to say, one of the things that I think it's really important to remember is like, this is not some TikToker making a video that's like, hey guys, check it out. I got an anonymous tip about Kash Patel. This is The Atlantic.
Yeah.
And they are
24 anonymous sources. Right. That's a lot of people.
What kind of fact checking does a piece like this go through, Rebecca?
Oh, crazy fact checking. I mean, like when I've gone through fact checking, it's literally like somebody will go through line by line.
Yeah.
And like certain things, like they will look for external ways to corroborate that. They will call the person and say, you know, did you say this? And they will also go through line by line and like circle it and be like, can you corroborate this?
And like, do you have an email? Do you have a text message?
And some of it are just like throwaway sentences. You know what I mean? Things that you say because they're like a filler, and they will go through and be like, is this a fact or is this your interpretation? And you have to put forth and be like, it's a fact based off of this article, or you have to say, actually, good point. No, that's my interpretation. And like, you know, especially with this type of thing, they have to corroborate. It's like if somebody, so for example, one of the claims in there is that somebody had to use a battering ram to wake him up.
I want to note though, I think they said they almost did that.
Okay.
That's one of the stories that some people have been throwing around on the internet, that a battering ram was used. I believe the story is actually that was discussed. So maybe Vienna, I don't know, that's a tough one to fact check, but I actually want to make a video about that because I think the claims are getting quite outrageous. And it's like, my favorite story from it is that it was the end of the workday. He went to go onto his computer and he was locked out.
In there.
And so he was locked out, and his feeling on it was, oh my God, I've been fired. And can I just say, I was like, relatable king. I cannot tell you how many times like I've gone into work and my boss was like, hey, can we just chat for like 5 minutes before you like get, and I was like, it's done. I'm over. It's done. So like that to me, when I read that, I was like, oh, that's actually relatable. But I also think if you are the director of the FBI,
right,
you probably shouldn't be like, first of all, why weren't you logged in earlier today? Like it's like 4:50 and he's like, I should probably start something today. We should probably at least do a spreadsheet. And you haven't logged in all day and now you're logging in. So I thought, that was kind of funny. But
well, and also like, let's go back to the Charlie Kirk murder. Like, remember there was all this stuff where like he was like tweeting in real time about like they'd caught the guy, they hadn't caught the guy. Like we've seen him,
because I was in Mexico City and I was like, I didn't have like full cell service, and I was like, this country is embarrassing.
It is embarrassing. It is embarrassing.
But I will say, he is seeking $250 million in damages. What do you think will happen there? Like, do you think that Atlantic will settle? Do you think that this will go to court? And because we have seen a lot of these places have to pay Trump out.
Have we though? Like,
or like they've settled, or they've like, no.
I mean, like some places have settled, definitely have settled and capitulated. But like, so for example, also this week, the Trump administration, a federal judge dismissed Trump's claims against the Wall Street Journal.
Right.
And so like this actually happens, I think, quite a bit too, where like they have the money, the people in the Trump administration, to say like, I'm suing for defamation, which is enough to make people like question it. And then eventually somewhere along the line, it gets dismissed because like, it's actually pretty hard to like with a
I love how Rebecca is talking like, I don't know the fucking ins and outs of defamation. Let me tell you, Rachel Zoe, Bethany Frankel, you want to talk about defamation?
That's right.
I would love to go to Discovery with you guys, but it was advised against by legal counsel.
Right, but so like in other words, like,
I know that I would be all right, but it's the amount of time and money that it takes to get there. And then it's like, okay, so are we going to spend all this time and all this money with the Atlantic going through all these claims? I don't know if they will. But here's my question. But I don't think Kash Patel has much time left. If I were him, I would try logging in right now, because you probably have not logged in all day. But I don't think he has much time left in the White House. So if he does get fired by Trump or moved or whatever, do you think this lawsuit goes away, or do you think he goes like, I'm going to go 10 times harder on this lawsuit?
Away.
Right.
Goes away. That's the thing about defamation is actually very hard to prove, especially in the United States, because there's like such a high bar.
Yeah.
And, Vienna just pulled up that clip of him, chugging beers with the U.S. hockey team in the locker room. And so like what makes this article like, how could you possibly call this defamation when we have seen this with our own eyes? Like, where will this possibly go? And so, yeah, I think like some other people in the Trump administration, he is short for his time in the administration. And when that happens, either he will drop the lawsuit or somebody will dismiss it.
Somebody wants to know, why are you so jealous that he's celebrating? To which I say, like, I don't drink alcohol, so like I'm not really jealous. I would actually rather die at this age to be in a hockey locker room after a game.
It's really interesting to me that somebody would say that, because that is like, actually, I see that and I'm like, that's terrifying to me.
Yeah.
As a woman, like I really genuinely, it's so funny that they would say like, you're jealous of that, because like that is like truly my nightmare scenario. And so like you must know literally nothing about women's experiences.
Okay, the follow-up question is, why can't he celebrate? And I don't think anybody's saying that he can't like, if you want to celebrate the US hockey team, fine. If you want to have a drink, fine. We're not saying that, but we're saying 24 sources that work with him are saying that it's not like one beer at the hockey game. It's like he's drunk, he's hungover, he's making bad decisions.
He's the head of the FBI. It is a job that literally never ends. His job is to track terrorist groups.
Do you think he should be allowed to drink?
I think that he is an adult. You know, yeah, I don't think that there's anything illegal about it. I think
your former boss, Kara Swisher, made a really good point this morning when she said,
doesn't drink.
Oh, she doesn't?
No.
Oh,
or
okay.
I mean, like, I don't know, like, but like generally.
Right.
Yeah.
But she made a really good point when she said today on Pivot, she said, Trump doesn't drink, and Trump
doesn't drink,
hates alcohol.
Yeah.
What's really interesting is our last two presidents have both been teetotalers.
Yep.
And so anyway, I do think that's like the one thing that I'm like, well, at least Trump's not drunk.
Yeah, no, he does it all on his own.
He hates alcohol. And
Yeah.
I think that could be something that makes him go, all right, you're out.
Well,
I hate alcohol.
Yeah, and Trump's been on a tear recently.
Right.
You know, this one was sort of quieter, but Lori Chavez DeRaymer,
Mhm.
who served as Trump's labor secretary, stepped down yesterday. She's been being investigated for allegations of misconduct, including department resources for personal travel, which also Kash Patel has been accused of.
Yes, with his girlfriend.
With
Do
his
you know his
girlfriend?
girlfrive
I've seen a picture of her.
Wait,
She's
yeah,
hot.
pull up
Good
a
for-
photo of his girlfriend. No one's saying, this is like when people are, no one's saying Lena Dunham's not talented.
But I think, in other words, like, there was a while where it seemed like Trump was like keeping it tight, but
Yeah.
like Pam Bondi, Kristi Noem,
Mhm.
now this woman who I hadn't really heard, like, she's sort of like, you know, on the C list. I think Kash Patel is certainly next. I think, I don't know, I trust my elected figures to comport themselves like respectfully and do the job that they've been paid by the taxpayer to do, but like consistently across the aisle, that seems not to be the case. And like, I don't know, he's the FBI director. He's not like the regional manager of a Staples, you know, like, yeah, well, he's about to be. That's right. That's right.
I love Staples, just in case anybody out there is wanting
She's
to
a babe.
sponsor us. Oh, she is a babe. She's gorgeous.
Yeah.
But she's like I think she's like a singer.
Yes, I think she's a country singer, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and remember, I mean, his deputy, Dan Bongino, stepped down. They're both podcasters. That's the thing, is like, this whole administration is a bunch of people who, like, it makes sense that they'd be like celebrating in hockey locker rooms and getting drunk, because like that was their job before they were the FBI director. J. Edgar Hoover, you know what I mean? Like, think about the people who run the FBI, you know, like, with all their flaws and faults.
Sure.
They're not in the locker room, you know.
Well, speaking of flaws and faults, let's talk about Katy Perry.
Let's talk about Katy Perry. Yeah. Okay. This was really interesting.
Yeah.
So this came out like sort of as part of like the whole Swalwell conversation. In a Threads post, actress Ruby Rose, who I remember from Orange is the New Black, that's
Sure.
where I recognize her from. She's alleging that Katy Perry had sexually assaulted her in a club in their 20s in like a really gross way, like an explicit way. Katy Perry's rep has denied the allegations and sort of like done the like flipperoo where she's like, Ruby Rose, alleges so much.
I know. And I thought that was such a disgusting thing to say. Like, I was shocked. I mean, like, there's one thing to say, I categorically deny these, but to go like, well, she lies a lot.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you. I don't give a shit.
I agree. Okay. So
if you want to come out and say, no, that didn't happen. Okay. But to then take other things and to question someone's character across the board. Fuck you. I hate Katy Perry.
Okay. So let's dig into this, because like since then she's put up like photos of her like dipping her credit card in the Trevi fountain, pictures with her daughter, like, you know, she's got this like goodwill thing, and it's so, I don't know, like how we deal with women in sexual assault is different, you know, like we're like, I don't think we're as quick to jump on to it, you know, like this is so foul. This is really foul, but because it's Katy Perry, I don't think it's like caught the same fire.
Yeah. And I think like, you know, I think a lot of people have felt like their heart goes out to her because of the Russell Brand and his sexual assault allegations. And so, which like, those aren't even allegations at this point, right? Like now those
No,
are,
yeah.
like, I mean, Eric Swalwell, I completely believe. I'm just saying, like, I don't know where we are
I-
in the process with
yeah.
Russell Brand, but anyway, my point is, I think that she has a lot of goodwill towards her in that regard. And I do think that, like, it's really hard for people to conceptualize sometimes that women can be abusers too. And when
Yes.
I think about the power dynamic of a Katy Perry and a Ruby Rose, like, okay, yeah, Katy Perry has way more power.
I think that that's it, because another thing that's been circulating around the internet is an old video of Katy Perry grabbing Justin Bieber's butt in a hug with him. And it's one of those things that I look at that I'm like, I could see in her mind being like, oh, I'm just being like cute and silly. But also it's like, that's a boy, you know, like the power differential is just not okay. And I think because she's a woman, maybe she like doesn't even think about that power differential, you know, like sexual assault, women do commit sexual assault, you know?
Yeah, totally. And I think, you know,
Yeah, like,
ugh, that's
ugh.
so gross. One of the things I think with Katy Perry is that she gets a lot of goodwill because she is really good at PR. Like,
Yes.
she plays the PR game really fucking well. And even now, like, you know, she's dating Justin Trudeau, which like also has its own things, but
Let's
they've been
talk about that.
well, they've been able to spin it really well. Like, did you see them at Coachella looking like a Silver Lake couple?
Yes.
Like,
Okay. Yes. I feel like that's.
and it's like, here's somebody who was like the leader of one of the largest countries in the world.
Yeah.
And Katy Perry, like, acting like they are normal human beings. And I
Yes.
think that is something that really confuses me. And I also think like she sort of plays both sides where she's like, I'm just like silly and putting my credit card in the Trevi fountain. And it's like, or also like, do you realize like you spend time with isn't she friends with Bezos? Somebody fact check that.
Well, she definitely went to space with Lauren.
Right. That's yes,
I mean,
exactly. Oh
yeah.
my god, oh my god.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I just I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I just like the Justin Trudeau of it all, I think is, first of all, I'm like, are we sure they're not cousins? Like, are we sure they're not cousins?
They're both hot.
They're both hot, and they're both hot in like the same very specific way. I don't know. I can't tell the difference between them. But more than that, it makes me wonder what Justin Trudeau's plans for the rest of his life are. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like,
Stagecoach.
no, but like literally,
Come on, that was funny.
that was funny. But do you know what I'm saying? Is like literally is like he went from being the
Right.
son, not just the prime minister, but the son of a beloved prime minister who sort of grew up in the public eye and had like this illustrious run, and then kind of like fell off at the, you know, like he had a big fall at the end, and now he's like palling around with Katy Perry, who has like this bizarre public persona while she's going to space, and he's also like going from Coachella and like doing like cute vids, but also like tweeting about the Hungarian election. Like, he also seems like somebody who doesn't know. He's got big divorce guy energy.
You know what though? Somebody was saying, they were like, well, I'm just glad he's like not dating like a hot 22-year-old. And I'm like, so are we supposed to like celebrate if he's dating a sexual assaulter?
Yeah. I also
don't
will
really-
say my hope for him, I really wanted him to date a man. I was really disappointed that he didn't come out as a gay icon. I was
This
like,
is the indoctrination, folks, that
Yeah.
they're warning you about.
I'm
This
the
is it.
woke-
This
yeah.
is it.
I know.
No, I mean, I think with Katy Perry too, it's like I'll just say this, like, what does the future hold for Katy Perry as well?
I know
right?
the two of them.
There's
I'm sort of
only-
like, where are you guys going? What are you doing?
There's only so many times that you can go and be like, you know, do you ever feel like a plastic bag? Like, it's like at a certain point, it's like, is she going to be doing that at like 60? Like running around stage?
Yeah.
Like, what's the long term? So I think that Katy Perry always gets off. Like,
She does. Yeah. Like, I think she does a really good job. I think you're right, of being like, I'm cute and silly and I'm a baby.
Yeah.
You know, like she's got very I'm a baby energy, and I can't stand.
also, like, this is a very controversial thing that I'm just gonna say.
Ooh.
Katy Perry missed the Bezos wedding because of tour dates was at the bachelor party. Yes. No, I'm just gonna say this. I'm not saying that Katy Perry was involved, but like, if Katy Perry has, you know, committed sexual assault, and Russell Brand definitely committed sexual assault, like, what the fuck did she know?
Yeah. I mean, like, the whole thing is just icky, and I think we don't think enough about power dynamics in general, you know? Like, I really think that people in power forget how much of their presence is about power, and, like, however they wield that is, you know.
Well, that's a perfect transition for this segment,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
I
boy.
think like when we talk about power, we have with us today Colleen Dulle. Colleen is the Vatican correspondent at American Media and the host of the podcast Inside the Vatican. Her first book, Struck Down, Not Destroyed, Keeping the Faith as a Vatican Reporter, came out last year. I love that cover.
Yeah, that is a good cover.
Colleen Dulle, welcome to the show.
Hey, good to be with y'all.
We're so excited
Hi.
you're here.
Thanks.
This is such an interesting day to have you with us because today is the 1 year mark of the passing of Pope Francis.
Yeah.
And so I think one of the things that we want to talk to you about is just sort of like with this being the anniversary, and of course, soon after that happened, Pope Leo is elected.
Very quickly, more quickly than I think we expected.
Yeah, right? Like how long is it? Well,
I thought it would take longer. Some other Vatican watchers were like, nope, this is just about what we expected based on the last couple of conclaves. But, you had cardinals from all over the world who didn't know each other. For the first time in history, they needed name tags. So, yeah, it was surprising to me that they got there that fast.
Interesting.
Just a side note, I was watching an episode of Colleen's where she was interviewing your co-host, Jerry.
Yeah, Jerry O'Connell.
Okay, Jerry O'Connell and his wife, and they just wrote a book about the last conclave. And at one point, the conclave had to be paused because, I want to read it. It looks really interesting.
It's really good.
It had to be paused because someone accidentally had a cell phone.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that actually, I think, takes us to one of the questions that we had, which is like, what is it like? This is the first pope in like the age of the South. Like, he is so ubiquitous in a way that other popes were sort of like more removed, like it's
I'm interested in what you mean by that. I think that we're more aware of it as Americans because he speaks in English with a Midwestern accent, like so much more breaks through than it did of Pope Francis. But Francis was always taking selfies and stuff too. Although Leo is the first pope to have used social media before becoming pope. And that was a big thing. We remember the night of his election, everybody dug up his Twitter account and his Facebook, and yeah. And I mean, maybe transitioning well into what we're going to talk about this week.
Yeah.
But, he was retweeting stuff critical of JD Vance.
We'll get to
we
that.
Got things to ask.
Here's my question to you, though, going back to that for a second. It's just, Pope Leo was selected to lead the church. And one of the things that Trump has recently claimed, because I also think the interesting thing is like Trump had only been back in office for like a handful of months when Pope Leo is selected. But one of the things that Trump has recently claimed is that Pope Leo was selected specifically because they needed him to quote unquote deal with Trump. And I just would love to know, like, is there any truth to that statement? And what role do current geopolitics play when there is the selection of a pope?
Okay, so I was just talking to Christopher Lamb, who is the Vatican guy for CNN, and he wrote a whole book about the American resistance to Pope Francis. And I texted him about this statement, and he was like, that's the one line that Trump got right. I don't know if I totally agree with him, but where I would fall on this is that, for a long time, it was seen as an impossibility that we would ever have a U.S. American pope. And it was because the U.S. is a global superpower. Now, there was often, after this election, circulated this quote from an American cardinal, Cardinal George, who used to be in Chicago, who said, we'll never have an American pope until the U.S. is in political decline. So obviously lots of people took that as like alarm bells. The U.S. is in political decline. I think, there's certainly been a loss of respect for the United States, especially in the Trump years on the global stage. I think that to the extent that this like political decline narrative is true, it's only true insofar as it makes it possible for the cardinals to consider an American pope. I think that he wasn't elected just as, let me deal with Trump, because frankly, Leo is going to outlast Trump, right?
We just had this conversation off air.
Yeah, he's a relatively young pope,
Yeah.
I mean, relatively back to John Paul II. But, Yeah, so I think that he's not looking to like have a beef with Trump. He's looking way past Trump. But it's a really interesting moment for sure.
To that end, like, why do you think? I mean, just in the past few weeks, there's been this beef with the Pope, which is shocking, like a wild decision. Do you have any insight as to why you think this got kicked up? Like, what it is that set Trump off to pick a fight with the Pope?
I think the immediate cause of the Truth Social post, so like last Sunday night, last week, was this 60 Minutes interview, because we know that Trump is often posting in response to what he sees on TV. But there was the 60 Minutes interview with 3 American cardinals who are all big Leo supporters. So Cardinal Supich from Chicago, Cardinal McElroy from DC, and Cardinal Tobin from Newark, New Jersey. And they were talking about Leo's views on the Trump administration's migration policies, especially, which he's been quite critical of and encouraged the U.S. bishops to be critical of. And then there's also his, kind of war making, which they were strongly against too. And so I think after seeing them kind of, criticizing him on TV, Trump felt moved to make this post. But certainly, like just in the week before that, Leo had named Trump publicly for the first time, I believe, just giving comments to reporters, as he does on Tuesdays sometimes, when he said, "I hope Trump is looking for an off-ramp for this war." Usually popes don't name aggressors or name people they're criticizing. They kind of let it be read into their comments. So this was, maybe another part of why he spouted off.
I'll also say, like, Donald feels a little subjective. Saying, "I hope that he finds an off-ramp for this war," isn't exactly like someone coming out right and being incredibly critical of you. Like, there are a lot of other people who are being much more critical of Trump, but I also think part of this is the fact that, like, it is the Pope. He is, like, becoming very beloved. And one of the things that Trump hates is he hates not to be weird, he hates a good-looking man who's like a little younger than him, who people are enjoying. So I also think that is part of this, is that Pope Leo makes Trump feel very insecure.
Yes.
I think there's definitely an attention thing here, right? Because we remember, like, at the beginning of the conclave, the reporters were asking Trump, who do you want to be Pope? And he was like, "I want to be Pope." And then he released that AI image of himself in a mitre and a cassock. So yeah, he doesn't like that the attention is not on him for a second.
So the Vatican ambassador from the U.S. is Brian Birch, I believe. Birch. Okay. Birch is his name. Big Pope Francis critic.
Yep.
And so I'm curious to know sort of how that relationship with the U.S. ambassador to the Vatican is going now with Pope Leo. I mean, he was selected, I think, after Pope Leo was elected. So sort of like, then you go and pick somebody who was not a fan of Francis. And I know that Francis and Leo are quite different, but they're also similar in some ways.
I think of it as like almost a continuation of those sort of like more progressive. He's a more progressive Pope, no?
Well,
throw it to me.
I would say yes and no, but
yeah. Like, I would also say yes and no. Certainly, he's like kind of mending some of the alienation that some of the more right-leaning folks, politically right-leaning folks in the U.S. Catholic Church, felt in the Francis years. Like, he is wearing the more traditional garments and that kind of thing. But I think that at his core, he is very committed to continuing the Francis kind of movements, initiatives, that kind of thing. I think he does it in a different way. He's got a different style. He's not super comfortable, speaking off the cuff, although he's getting more comfortable. But like, this is not the Pope who stands up on his first papal trip and says, "Who am I to judge gay priests?"
Got it. Okay. Got it.
Yeah. And so how is that relationship going, though, when you have someone who was anti-Francis, which, like, I also think it's wild to pick a U.S. ambassador who was anti the most recent Pope.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, these are also political appointments, right? So it is kind of like a reward. That's often how it's seen. So, I think Trump was grateful for the way that Birch was able to galvanize Catholic voters for him. And so he gives him this role as a reward. I don't know much about how that behind the scenes relationship is going between Birch and the Vatican specifically. I mean, certainly they're used to, political appointees from the United States holding this position. They were used to it, under Obama, right? He had somebody who was like very in favor of all of his stuff, and that clashed with the church at times too.
That's my friend's uncle.
Oh, Miguel Diaz?
Yes.
Really? I love that guy.
Yes, I know. And I remember I was like, have you met the Pope? She was like, I have. Oh, God, I'm so jealous. Okay.
Yeah,
sorry.
totally.
But I think that's an interesting point is they are political appointments.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of political appointments, this feels like a really bad political move for all involved, at least on the US side. One, do you see this escalating in some ways? Because he's not coming to the 250th anniversary of the United States. Do you think that Trump is going to try and say okay, let's move away from the Pope? This has not been popular. Or do you think this is going to be something that he keeps coming back to? Is this going to be one of his refrains? Oh boy, Trump's fighting with the Pope again.
Yeah, hard to say because he's kind of an unpredictable person. But I will say in recent days, we've seen both Trump and the Pope kind of dialing it back. Not that the Pope was ever overtly beefing with him. Certainly he criticized some of his policies. He criticized the war. I consider that part of his job. But Trump said on April 20th that he's not fighting with Leo. And Leo said just recently on one of his plane trips, because he's making this big trip through Africa right now. So he's traveling with a whole cadre of reporters. But he said, that he thinks that this kind of narrative has overshadowed his Africa trip. He was like, hey, these comments I was giving in my speeches about tyrants, ruling the world or exploiting the continent of Africa are not about Trump, but they were spun to be that way. But actually I wrote that speech 2 weeks ago. So, we've seen them both kind of trying to cool the temperatures, cool the media narrative a little bit. But yeah, he very well could circle back to it. Who knows what he's going to do?
Right.
So Pope Leo has not been back to the United States since he was elected to be Pope. And obviously it was going to be this big thing that he was coming to the 250th anniversary. And now instead, I believe he's going to the coast of Italy and he's going to be visiting with migrants.
Yeah, he's going to an island called Lampedusa, which was actually where Francis took his first trip. And this was a big thing because it's an island where a lot of migrants from across the Mediterranean arrive. And so Francis used that to call out, he said the globalization of indifference. So the fact that people don't care about migrants dying as they're trying to cross into Europe. So yeah, that's where Leo's going to spend July 4th. I think that date is intentional. I do want to push back on some of the reporting that's come out about Leo canceling a trip to the US because I'm fairly well sourced in the Vatican. I have never heard anything about an official trip to the US being even considered for the 250th.
Well, that was my question. I'm when do you think that Pope Leo might come back to the United States?
I don't think he would. So certainly not ever during an election year. So the question of him coming this year is off the table because of the midterms. So he was never going to come this year. Yeah, that takes out pretty much all even years, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I was on a panel with somebody last week who was like, I could see him coming back in 2027. I don't know about that. I think he's going to wait until kind of the Trump administration passes over. Popes are really aware of how their visits can be used as kind of a political boost for whoever's in power at the moment. At the same time, Leo was just in Cameroon, which is ruled by Paul Biya, who has been effectively the dictator since the 80s, I believe. And so, he was up on stage next to Biya. He was shaking his hand, but he was also giving a speech against corruption. So I maybe there's a way that Leo thinks he can kind of navigate that. I don't know.
Interesting.
I'm just worried about my boy John Prevost because I don't know if you know this, Colleen, but John is actually an award winner of this show. He won most likely to spill the tea on this show because he is, to me, I have siblings. I love siblings. I think siblings are I love that our Pope has a sibling who gets on TV and is well, I'm not going to tell you what I'm bringing him, but okay, fine, Peeps. I'm bringing him Peeps, okay? And now he's going to see it. I'm obsessed with John, and I do think that John is like probably dying to have his brother come back to the United States.
Oh yeah. Although he said in that interview, he was like, the only time for sure that he'll come back to the States is that he said he would say my funeral. I was like, John.
Oh my God, that's so sibling coded.
That is
so sibling coded.
When are you coming back? I'll come back when you die.
But also, this is part of what I mean by like, I feel like Pope, he feels much more human to me. Is like, I'm like, oh, I see that you have a brother, like somebody that you grew up with and like fought with. And I see that, you know, like there's something about him that feels like of.
It's so relatable that he has a MAGA relative too. Can I say that?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yes. Oh my God. Also too, like when Trump tweeted or Truth Socialed about the Pope and he was like, you know what? I like his brother Louis much more. And it's like, dude, this isn't like Brittany Mahomes and Taylor Swift or like Rob Pattinson and Kristen Stewart. You're like, I like the man who lives in a townhouse in the Villages more. Like, I mean, it's fine. I guess you can.
Are you team Louis or team Bob? Like,
like it's such a bizarre thing to say. And then like, I always have this reaction where like, I know I shouldn't, but I want to be like, you're not even Catholic. Like that's like kind of part of what like you're not even Catholic. So like that's, oh my God, this is unhinged. But that's one of the things that I want to ask you though. We want to talk to you a little bit about JD Vance has a book coming out called Communion, Finding My Way Back to Faith, about his conversion to Catholicism, which Vienna, our executive producer, told us this morning that is actually a Methodist church that's on the cover of JD Vance's book. And he has never been Methodist. So like very random. But I guess our question is like, do you think that Trump's rift with Pope Leo is going to drive Catholic voters, especially I'm thinking about, he's done a really good job of courting the Latino voters who are often more culturally Catholic than sometimes practicing Catholic in those sense. But do you think that this is going to cause a rift in both the midterms and in 2028 for Catholic voters?
It's interesting. I think I've seen certainly a lot of Trump's like evangelical Christian base get really upset with the AI image that Trump posted of himself as Jesus, although he says he was a doctor, but
sure.
But that came out right after his Truth Social post about Pope Leo. So yeah, I've seen some support kind of being chipped away by that. Among Catholics, I think Leo is really widely kind of trusted and appreciated right now. He's in, I would call it still maybe a honeymoon period. We're just starting to see the first couple of instances of him being criticized for speaking out against the Trump administration. But I don't know. It's hard to say right now, are Catholics gonna, as a whole take the Pope side? I don't know. I tend to be a little bit skeptical about kind of the idea of a Catholic vote anyway. I feel like the numbers actually kind of break down to show that really Catholics are just as likely as everyone else to vote, based on their geography, sex, age, education, whatever. Yeah. So I don't know. I am a little bit skeptical of that, but I think it's hard to call right now, but I think that certainly like people are paying attention to the rift and
Well, before we go, I do have to ask you this. All over my FYP these days is this sort of idea that there is a resurgence in young people attending Catholic Mass. Particularly, I've seen it a lot in New York City. And so I guess, first of all, maybe that's just my algorithm. Thanks, Zuckerberg. Or maybe that's really the truth. And I would love to know from your perspective, if that is the truth, what is this stemming from for young Catholics?
Okay. I have a lot of thoughts on this.
Oh my God,
yeah. But I think what we have on this right now is more like anecdata than actual data, right? Like we have these anecdotes. We have people flooding to like these like 3 parishes in Manhattan that have gotten really popular, where it's like standing room only on Sunday nights, and then you have a few dioceses reported around the world reported that they saw a lot of extra converts at this year's Easter Vigil, which is like a big time that people enter the church, get baptized, confirmed, whatever. So we have that going on. At the same time, I've like heard from some data scientists who analyze religion data, like Brian Birch, I think. Yeah, Brian Birch, who has a very similar name to the.
I was gonna say, wow, we got a
dude.
Yeah,
let's get him on the phone.
Ryan Birch, I think is his name.
Yeah.
But he has been kind of like, hold on with the assumptions because it's not totally clear from the data. Then, like, I think that there is kind of a greater openness to Catholicism among people that we're seeing right now. And, I don't think it's all like JD Vance, trad wife influencers, that kind of thing. I think that ever since like COVID, we've seen sort of a gradual increase as people are feeling kind of directionless, like people have a desire for something deeper. And so I think that some people are kind of either reconnecting with their like cultural roots or they're, looking for a system that feels like it has answers, and Catholicism can certainly feel that way sometimes. So I think that there's a lot of different things going on there. It's hard to paint in broad brushstrokes, and I try to kind of be allergic to that in general as a reporter. But yeah, so those are just some thoughts on it.
Yeah. I also think some of it is like the broken dating culture. I think that people are like, oh, I'm so sick of swiping. I don't know where else. Because people used to meet in community, in churches and synagogues, like with their, and
that totally seems like a thing in the Manhattan.
Yeah. I think it's people being like, oh, where else am I going to meet somebody? Maybe I'll meet somebody who has like values and integrity by going to, like it's all like a pendulum swing, I think, in some ways.
Super interesting.
Super interesting.
We'll just have to keep an eye on it. Colleen, thank you so much for joining us. This was so interesting.
This was fascinating. Yeah, you've made the Vatican fascinating to a Jew.
That's my goal.
Thank you, Colleen.
Thank you, Colleen. We'll have you back soon. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
What a fascinating beat. One thing that I didn't get to ask her that I really want to ask is, how do you become a Vatican correspondent? Like, what makes you go in, like I was a reporter. Like, what makes you choose that as your beat, and how do you get into that? I'm so curious.
Yeah,
we'll have to ask her.
I know. We'll just have to have her back. That was so interesting.
Yeah,
I know. So interesting. And also too, like, I think that it really gave me some perspective of how Pope Leo hasn't really been like going after Trump. It's more so that the media has also gotten a hold of this, but Trump has definitely been going after Leo
for sure. Weak on crime. I mean. Come on.
He's the police chief of Vatican City.
Like, what?
He's like using that thing that they like spray around with.
Yes. Like, yes.
Awesome. Well, Rebecca, let me ask you, what's having a moment for you right now?
Well, this is going to take a turn from our Catholicism.
Yeah.
But Practical Magic 2 released their trailer, and I am sad for Practical Magic 2.
You're sad for it?
Sat.
Oh, sad.
Sat.
Oh.
I'm sat. I'm ready for it. I'm, Practical Magic is like truly one of my all-time favorite movies.
My sisters love that.
Oh, really? I thought it was like Catholics would not watch a witch movie.
Oh, no, not like that.
Okay.
Not like that.
Okay.
I just said that I'm not a big astrology person, and then everybody came
whole world,
for me.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have said it on Easter.
Trump is going to start tweeting, Meredith Lynch doesn't like astrology.
Right. Also, too, like I'm much more Catholic coded than my sisters.
Well, your sisters and I are going to go watch Practical Magic 2.
Yes.
In theaters, September.
So wait, it's Nicole Kidman, Sandra Bullock, and
Diane Wiest. And then, oh my God, I can't think of her name, but she played Rizzo in
Stockard Channing.
Stockard Channing. Yes. Thank you. Yeah, like they're both back, at least for some amount of it.
Yep.
And so like that to me says they got something. One thing that has me concerned about the trailer, the early trailer, is it feels a little like, part of what I love about the original is how like organic and cozy it is. Like there aren't big special effects, and they aren't really going beyond their little village. And in Practical Magic 2, it looks like they might throw in some of that, which would be disappointing to me. But I love Practical Magic, and I will be there for it. And even if it's not good, I will watch the original again, as I do every year. I just love it. Witches happen.
I love it.
Yeah.
I honestly the other day was like, I might pay the Etsy witch.
To do what? What are we doing?
I can't tell you.
Yeah, commenters on
well, believe me, the comments are like out of control right now.
Okay, well, the Etsy witch is coming for you.
they're not like bad. There's just like somebody in here who like I think is like pulling a like I think they are like they're maybe trying to look for love.
Oh.
Not with us, I don't think. I think
Colleen?
No, I just think we're just getting a lot of the peach emoji and like the water splash emoji, which is like, yeah, a wild thing to go from our conversation about Pope Leo to that. So
Got it. Okay, Katy Perry's in the chat is what you're saying.
Basically. It's
What's having a moment for you?
You know, I would just say what's having a moment for me is being back in studio. I'm so happy to be back in studio. It's so good to be here. We're back with Gabby. We've got executive producer Vienna in the house, and it's just good to be back with you.
I know. I miss you.
Like I'm really glad that I got to go home and have that, but it's just really good to be back in here.
Good to be back, baby. Well, we will be back on Friday. With lots to talk about.
And a guest,
Dr. Judith Joseph.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for Dr. Judith Joseph.
I am too.
Yes.
I am too. I think it's going to be like a little wellness check for all of us.
Totally.
We're all going to sit down and say like, hey, it's been a rough year. How are we feeling?
How do we
what
process
are we
that? I
How
think her content is so good because like a lot of people who do like her, I don't know, it's just, it feels like it's an actual, I don't know, legitimate person giving some like sort of like bite-sized advice or bite-sized insight. So
totally.
Anyway, you guys come back real soon.
Come back real soon, y'all.
Bye.